Well, this afternoon, Jubilee House is yet to provide an official response on how American rapper Meek Mill got clearance to shoot his music video at the seat of government. President Akufo-Addo and his staffers have come under intense criticism for allowing the foreigner to use the national facility while jeopardizing national security. The rapper himself, the ex-convict, as some describe him, who uploaded the visuals on his Instagram page, says he felt, quote, like a king during his recent visit to the country. There you find it on your screens. But what was Meek Mill doing? We understand that he's since deleted that post, but exactly what may have accounted for this? I want to bring in now Richard Kojinyako, who is with our Joy News International Desk. And Richard, let's break down a few matters before we do the analysis. Do we have an official response yet from the Jubilee House on what may have surrounded the decision of Meek Mill to put out that video from the seat of government?
Well, Blessed, there is no official communication to this from the Jubilee House.
And there are speculations as well, as of now, that the president, as we're learning, may not have been interested in the first place in meeting this U.S. rapper, Meek Mill, that we're talking about. Can you help us analyze that? On what basis are some experts making this speculation?
You know, the president spoke, and from how he spoke, he initially did not want to allow, but the daughter insisted that that was going to be okay, and so the president yielded in. And so let's listen to the president.
I'm really very excited that my daughter Jagroma insisted that you should come and say hello to me, and I appreciate that very much. I heard about last night.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Whoa. And it's happening at a time when a lot of places in West Africa are under a lot of difficulties. And here we have, what, 100,000 or something more?
That was a lot.
People, coming out to party, to listen to you and enjoy themselves. Yeah. It's something really extraordinary. We have to thank you for that. Make the best of it by reforging the link and leveraging our mutual strengths of each other and for each other so that we can elevate the position of black people in the world. Here and over there in the Americas as well. It's a very important development for both of us. I'm very keen on it, and we're doing a lot of talking around the world to make sure that there's a clear understanding on all our parts of how very, very, very important it is for our future that we connect and everything that is built around that to grow. When we have people with a major talent like you do, that helps, and that you come here and expose us to the world and expose yourself to the world in that way too. All those things are important building blocks, and we have to encourage it. And I'm happy that the results of this Year of Return program has made more and more and more and more people like you, our brothers, our kith and kin in the Americas, are finding their way here to rediscover their links.
Well, so that's President Akufo-Addo speaking there when he met the American rapper Meek Mill. So what usually happens at the Jubilee House, and in such cases, what should the president be considering? I want to bring in now Prosper Barney. He's the former chief of staff for the Republic of Ghana, worked under the John Mahama administration. Welcome, sir, to the polls. It's such a pleasure to be meeting you, and Happy New Year.
You all and to your cherished viewers and listeners.
And just before we start this conversation, I want you to listen to what some Ghanaians have to say about what's happened recently. Just listen to that.
This country right now, do you know what we have in this country? It's like we have a country without head. You know, the country is just, we don't just know what is going on. Meek Mill. We have people in Ghana here more than Meek Mill, but they don't have that opportunity to go to the Jubilee House to do what Meek Mill just did. In short. But we get best rappers in Ghana. Can you compare Sarkodie in terms to those guys where they talk, say, Meek Mill? You can't do that. Who does that?
What our people saying about this? So it's very bad. As a Ghanaian, for me, it's very bad. You know, to just allow American artists just enter into our, you know, our, let's say, a Jubilee House to just shoot a video. And I know some of the Ghanaians cannot even just go there and say they are going to even shoot a video. But this is where our presidents live. And we need some security there. And American artists just move from America. We don't know what have in mind. What is going to set some cameras there to know what we are doing over there. So that one day, the presidents, you know, I think it's very bad that you have to allow somebody to just enter to this Jubilee House to just shoot a video. I don't think it's good.
It's not right, because the main reason why I said it's not right is you can't go to White House and go and take clip and, you know, and be saying all sort of nonsense things. First of all, I'll blame the government. The reason why I said I'll blame the government is because he gave them the opportunity to come over there to do all those nasty things. Even though he went to our Jubilee House to make a video, to do a music, okay, let me say it's cool, but you know, the words from his mouth, I don't think it's advisable, because when you are doing something, you know, there is an upcoming youth. You understand? You have to say something that will motivate the upcoming youth.
Well, some Ghanaians on the streets of Accra. Honorable Prosper Bani, I'm just wondering, what was your initial reaction when you first heard about this incident going on at the Jubilee House?
I must say it was one of disappointment, to say the least. I would like to join my fellow Ghanaians who have observed, who have watched the video and have a negative reaction to it. It's just unfortunate that the seat of our government, the business space of the President of the Republic of Ghana, and the Flagstaff House will become a theater for recording, or referred to as a recording studio. I think that it's rather unfortunate.
Is it fair to be referring to the Flagstaff House now as a theater, knowing that the president says he's working on the Beyond the Return?
I subscribe to the Beyond the Return policy. I have no questions about that. But the way we operationalize it, and as far as it refers to the seat of government, I have an issue. One, I think that we should keep the seat of government as a security space. And that's how we manage the space under President John Dramani Mahama. It was one that was dignified. It was one that had respect, and that you couldn't come to the Flagstaff House when I was chief of staff to see the president in summer shorts, in T-shirts, and not properly dressed to meet the highest office holder of this land. Secondly, there are certain activities you cannot undertake within the space of the presidency. And to record a video, a musical video around sensitive places in the space of the president is rather unfortunate, and I disagree with it completely. In addition to that, we considered the Flagstaff House as a security zone. One, it is with permission that you bring in your phone. And if you brought in your phone, it's not always that we allow you to take pictures or make recordings. Secondly, when you bring in a video recording instrument, we interrogate the program and ensure that you have limited space, and that your objective of bringing in the camera was limited to covering the president and the presidency, nothing else. And if we allow anyone to abuse this security trust, then this whole country is open up for various types of threats.
I was just asking you earlier about government's policy of beyond the aid, beyond the return. This was after the year of return yielded so much impact for our nation. You don't want to despise the role of the African diaspora in our development. Is that what you're doing?
Not at all. I already said that I agree with the beyond the return policy. I have no questions about that. But we have to interrogate the how we do that and maintain the office of the president in a decorated way. You can't just open up because, I mean, the president is the first gentleman of the republic, just like the speaker who leads the House of Representatives. We can't allow those spaces to be abused.
And many of us, and by this I'm referring to the general public, are not aware about the protocol and the workings there at Jubilee House. And say this was an NDC era, John Mahama administration, at the time you were Chief of Staff. What would have been the appropriate measure in trying to bring some of these people from the creatives into the Jubilee House? Some say, well, he's a rapper. You don't expect that he would show up at the Jubilee House in a style that you would find the usual corporate persons appearing.
We have had distinguished musicians, artists visiting President John Dramani Mahama in the Flagstaff House. There was some decorum to it. And that decorum provided some administrative protocols to be respected to ensure that the president received these people in a very dignified way and that their visit provided respect to the first gentleman of the republic. It is an administrative issue and also a security challenge. We have to ensure that both the administrative and the security challenges are considered before we open up the space, the business space of the presidency. In John Mahama's presidency, I can say with some conviction that we did not reduce the theater of the space of the president into this low level where video recordings are being made and music is played in a very unrespected manner and distributed all over the world. And I think that we have to come back to the drawing board and ensure that whether it's President Akufo-Addo or President John Mahama, the office of the president is respected, there's honor in the presidency, and there's dignity around the way the president functions. This is below the belt, I must say.
We need to be looking for solutions now to that problem. If you were still Chief of Staff, and I'm being hypothetical because you've been there before, what would you advise the president do at this moment?
Well, I think that they have to revise their notes, administrative notes, enhance the protocols around visitors to the Flagstaff House, beef up the security arrangements, that there's conversation between the security staff and the administrative staff to ensure that the presidency is respected, the business space has some decorum, as well as that the president is above board. And activities that take place within the president's business space has clearance, security clearance, and administrative authority from the chief of staff and also the head of security of that space. And I tell you, this is not rocket science. All governments, all state offices have these joint administrative and security protocols that are respected when visitors visit the president. And I think that this is not something that we should argue about. We Ghanaians are dignified people. We respect ourselves. And I think that the first gentleman must be given that respect, decorum, and also dignity.
And I'm just picking up on the choice of words you're using. Dignity, respect. Is it your feeling that the presidency is gradually losing that?
Well, I cannot make a general statement on this at this time, but given what happened recently with the video recording in the space, I think it falls below the belt of respect.
We've seen the likes of ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, asking for heads to roll. If we are to start, who do we go after first?
Well, the administrative setup of the Flagstaff is a very complex setup. There have to be an internal investigation to reach that conclusion. And I will not sit here far away from the House and then make projections. But I can trust the Chief of Staff and the Head of Security of the Flagstaff House to instigate an investigation and ensure that this thing is nipped to the bud. In any case, in future, this is a very bad experience that we've gone through. In future, there has to be new protocol arrangements that we don't repeat this thing anymore. For heads to roll, I think that is the Chief of Staff and the Head of Security that have to investigate what happened and how come that the space, the security space, the administrative space, the business space of the president have been occupied and turned into a video recording studio.
Some say this is a unique case, unique because I'll just say some of the public scenarios that we already have. This is someone who's coming into the president's space based on, quote, the insistence of the president's daughter. At least that's what the president is telling us, that my daughter insisted that I meet you. Could that not have changed or, I mean, bent the rules for the musician to come through? The fact that this is someone closest to the president, this is about family ties and relations, and that when we get to that point, officials working at the Jubilee House do not have enough power dealing with the first gentleman.
We have different locations for different activities for the president. This is one activity that could be done at the Pedrasi, for example, where the gardens are open, we have a lot of free will, and it's not the business place of the president. We can do this in the house of the president if he wants to have recordings around him and the daughter. We could take this to a different theater zone where this could be accompanied. But when it comes to the State House, when it comes to the Flagstaff House, the business space of the president, and which has been declared by all intents and purposes a security zone, such activities will have to be really interrogated before it's approved. And I don't subscribe to that. The way we are seeing this being run on the media space, I don't think that that should pass easily in the Flagstaff House.
Do you feel that after this incident, the image of our presidency could be easily redeemed?
Well, the image of the presidency that we have had other presidents served, I mean, we can't erode that just by one activity. And I must say that if the leaders of the House, I mean, that's the Chief of Staff and the Head of Security, quickly get to business, this could be reversed quickly and efficiently. But for now, I think action has to be taken so that we regain the dignity of that office in the way that this activity seemed to have derailed it a little bit. I think that we have an opportunity, and we should seize that opportunity right now to ensure that we don't go down the road of an embarrassing situation.
A few more issues to deal with. You see the constant attempt by some Ghanaians to compare us to the White House, for instance. Why do you feel we're tempted to often refer to the West? Some say, well, we may have a unique experience here in Ghana. We're looking for development. We're looking for the funds to develop our country. And that whichever way it may come, even if it's through allowing the African diaspora closer to our presidency, if that will bring the funds, let's go ahead with it.
The democratic dispensation we practice is similar to that of the US. I mean, if you take even the monarchy in the US, you can't just dress up and go to Buckingham Palace to see the Queen, the late Queen, or the King, or King Charles III. There is some protocol arrangements to do that. Trust me, we have, even if you get down to our own selves, a cultural space, where we have our chiefs, tell me, you can't just dress anyhow to meet the paramount chief of your traditional area. There has to be some protocol around it. The way you speak, the way you talk. Trust me, if this video was all over the Mansha Palace, excuse me, I think there will be some uproar among the people of the Ashantis. So if you take the cultural space, let's respect our dignity, the cultural space. Let's respect our presidency. He's the first gentleman of the Republic, and that space is his business space. And if you compare it to the State House, even if you take the State House in Kenya or the State House in South Africa, there is some decorum. Even if we are not practicing it, let's learn how to raise the stakes. And there are instances where I have learned in the past where some persons on official assignment to the Speaker of Ghana were returned because they were not properly dressed. And I think that those kind of stiff protocols have to be undertaken when we are talking of the presidency.
And I'm sure that you have some stories, and I'm sure that
talking about the Chief Justice.
Right, and I'm sure that you have such stories to share with us when at the time when you were handling the Jubilee House under John Mahama. Were there occasions that you've had to turn some people away simply because they were not dressed properly to meet the president?
Absolutely. There was a protocol out there. There was no way you visited the office of the presidency under John Mahama and under my tenure as chief of staff, where you came in shorts, you came in sandals, and you came in a t-shirt. There was no way. My own friend came from the US to visit me. He was turned away. And when he called, I said that was the protocol.
Really?
Yes. And he had to go back, came back the following day with a shirt and trousers and well-bottled black shoe. So we can't joke with these things. If they cannot be personalized, when we have our protocols, that's strict. And it's all about the respect for the presidency and the president. Trust me, our president cannot move to the White House, cannot move to Buckingham Palace in shorts and t-shirts because it's summer. Hello. Tell me about it. Recently, when President Zelensky of Ukraine went to the White House with his military fatigue, he was criticized for not dressing appropriately before President Biden. Let's learn something to ensure that we grow our democracy in a way that we bring full respect to the presidency.
Right, but by avoiding this, some have called for professional hands to manage our presidency. The belief is that we're leaving this to you, the political class. Don't you feel that we should approach some reforms, legislations that will reform that?
Well, there's so many laws, there's so many legislation, there's so many regulations around the management of the flag staff. I think that the head of administration in that office, which is the chief of staff, and the head of security have all the instruments to be more efficient in managing the president and the presidency.
And I'm sure that many, even in the Jubilee House as we speak, will be watching Joy News. What would be that special message that you want to send across?
To who?
Whoever it may concern there.
I mean, the message, I need to have a target message. So if it's the presidency, if it's the Ghanaian people, if it's Joy News, let me know. And it'll be
okay. So let's do that to the Ghanaian people. At least there are Ghanaians there. So
okay,
that message will find them.
This is a very unfortunate experience, and I think if the presidency have the capacity and the space to readdress this quickly, by putting up an investigation to find out what really happened beyond the musicians visiting President Akufo-Addo, what happened after that, who gave them the space, who gave them the authority, and then we address those. But in all fairness, it is very unfortunate, and I think that we have to restore the dignity, the respect, and the decorum of the President of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year again, and we hope to see you more often here on the platform, Professor. That's Prosper Bunny. He's the former Chief of Staff under the John Mahama administration. We're grateful for your time. Let's bring in Richard Kumado. He's a security and fraud consultant, of course, watching this space and watching what's happening now. Richard, let's start off on the issues surrounding security. Is there really something to be worried about? Some say this is just a music video. Well, it's over. There's nothing really to be worried about in terms of the security at the Jubilee House. You share the same concern?
No, definitely not. When you spoke to my big brother Prosper, he made mention of the business space of the president. You see, people might just be seeing it as a mere video, but our brother who came from the US has the actual details when you slow down the video. Number two, the fact that he deleted the video doesn't mean that the information is out there. Then number three, it is critical of this particular thing I've been speaking about for years now. And my big brother Prosper Bani played down a little bit. When you go to the office of the president, you have a lot of family people operating there. You also have a lot of political party people there, and you have few elements of professional security protocols. Those ones have a voice that overpowers that of the security protocols. And that has been one of the major challenges we have when it comes to managing the presidential space. And I think this thing, plus the Sawabroni's issue of clearance, has brought to the fore that we will need to look at security prudence and security management in terms of national sovereignty, what is allowed, what is permitted, and what needs to be done properly.
And where do we start from?
I think my big brother Prosper Bani makes a reference to the chief of staff, which is the administrative head, and the head of security. That level of collaboration and convergence criteria as to what is permissible and what is allowed within whichever space of the president and the presidency, they will need to revise it again, and let's ensure that we are doing the right thing. I will personally place a call to my dad in the office of the president to raise some of the concerns we have picked from outside. And I think it's not a rocket science. They can put their heads together and ensure that going forward, the right things are done.
Do you see this as an intelligence failure, or where do you see the problem starting from?
It's not intelligence failure. Sometimes security operations failure is not necessarily intelligence failure. You remember what the president said, that the daughter insisted that he has to see this person who grants the clearance and who takes responsibility, on whose authority is the action being taken. When you become president, you are no more a family member. And it's like you visit the presidency. Visiting the presidency is like visiting the traditional home of a chief. If you touch what is forbidden, your head will be cut off. And considering the fact that you have allowed our national sovereignty and the highest level of decision-making, which is the national security, to be tampered with, or there are breaches there, this particular action could be compared to a treason, which is punishable by death. And that is the level of ineptitude and indiscretion we are talking about. I think circumspection, security prudence, and good judgment should be the order of the day, and we'll be fine as a nation.
This may not be out there, but why do I have a feeling possibly the national security may have a hand in the disappearance of his mobile phone? Recall, he complained about his mobile phone getting missing. Some say, well, as part of the intelligence process, that was taken away from him and not necessarily stolen. Is that part of the modus operandi of national security sometimes, just to prevent the bad press as we are seeing now?
No, so definitely we need to look at what point was his phone stolen or taken away from him, who had access to the phone, what informations were on the phone, and what was taken out. If it is that simple, and if that was the objective, why didn't they take the video out? Or did he post the video before the phone was stolen? You remember the Sawabroni's case, that she has so much access that she claims she gave some intelligence to the Canadian embassy, which we are yet to confirm to attest to that. And I think there are too many 40 lines coming out. In the first place, let's prevent it. Because we are Ghanaians and we jokingly say that provision is better than cure. Let's prevent it. Let's know way to react as typical black people would do. We are a sovereign nation and we have all what it takes to get a job done. We should not allow family interests and political interests to override the national priority and sovereignty. We might be joking with fire, and we never know when the chickens will come home to roost.
But very finally, in terms of security reforms and changes that need to happen at Jubilee House now, what should we be doing as a nation? Because Ghanaians are saying, well, security doesn't seem to be tight there. Let's review the security there.
You see, we have lost it. I have worked with the BNI, not in the days of NDC MPP. I started with President Rawlings' time. Then you have the 64 unit, which take care of the presidency. Then you have the Secret Service, the BNI, where I have worked, and many of the presidential roles we play as young people. For the past 26 years, we've been in this business, consulted for national presidents and national security organizations across the globe. I think we do not have any structured institution that takes care of which protocols to be aligned at the presidency. Every president take care of their own. And the 64 Regiment was meant to take care of our presidency, together with the surveillance departments of the BNI and many of the critical officers who played those roles. We might want to go back and follow the standard procedure of the Americans, as we always compel ourselves to them. The Secret Service has a role to play, irrespective of the president, your color, your height, your education. And it makes life simple for everybody. The Germans have it, the Russians have it, the Americans have it, all state institutions have it. Brother, I can tell you that what you are saying cannot happen in Uganda, in Paul Kagame's office. You are a dead man working in their state.
The comparison, is it really fair, knowing that this is a unique case? This is Ghana, for instance.
No, there are too many 40 lines at the presidency. Sawabroni is one of them. Other ones are many of them. Things we cannot say on air. This one has come on air and we are running public commentary because it's in the public domain. Otherwise, me in particular wouldn't have commented on it publicly. And I'm saying that we have too many 40 lines and we have too many security breaches at the presidency. It's creating a red flag and we never know who is building the profile and they may hit us at a very high level. This is a president and the presidency and the government that is so much worried about coup d'etat and worried about terrorism and worried about infiltration. We are playing ourselves in Larry, and the red flags are becoming too many.
Well, that's Richard Kumado. He is a security and fraud consultant joining us here on The Pulse. Well, we do know that plastics have become a headache for the country to deal with. Everywhere you turn, there are plastics lying around. We'll deal with this issue when we get back from this break. We have a special package for you on our hotline documentary, Plastic Garbage. But we'll do all of that and more when we get back.